Welcome back to FlyEaglesFly News, the home for every passionate Eagles fan who lives and breathes everything happening with this team. And man, what a weekend it has been. The Philadelphia Eagles just reminded the entire league that they're never content standing still, especially when there's a shot at getting better right before the playoff push. The trade deadline came and went, and Philly didn't just make noise, they kicked down the door. Two huge moves. One that brought in a former superstar cornerback, and another that landed a young, freakishly athletic edge rusher with ties to Vic Fangio. The message is clear. This team is going all in, and the front office isn't afraid to shake things up to keep that Super Bowl window wide open. The bye week couldn't have gone any better either. It was one of those rare stress-free Sundays where Eagles fans could sit back, watch other teams stumble, and smile. Thanks to the Panthers stunning the Packers, the Birds now sit alone atop the NFC standings. That's exactly the kind of break every contender dreams about. Extra rest, no major injuries, and a boost in the standings all at once. Now with the second half of the season about to kick off, the path to the #1 seed and that all-important first-round playoff bye is right there for the taking. But of course, nothing comes easy in this league. The upcoming schedule is brutal, and it all starts with that massive primetime clash against the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. Odds makers have the Eagles as slight road underdogs by just a couple of points. But come on. Philly has always thrived with their backs against the wall. This is exactly the type of stage they love. Now let's get to the real fireworks. The biggest headline of the weekend came when news broke that the Eagles were trading for cornerback Jaire Alexander. That's right. The same Jaire Alexander who was once one of the most feared corners in the entire league, a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro during his prime with Green Bay. The move caught everyone off guard, not because the Eagles needed help at corner, they absolutely did, but because of just how cheap the deal ended up being. General Manager Howie Roseman shipped off a 6th-round pick in 2026 to the Baltimore Ravens and even got a 7th-rounder in 2027 back in return. That's the definition of a low-risk, high-upside move, and it has fans buzzing about what could be if Alexander can stay healthy. Now, to be fair, it's not the same Jaire Alexander that terrorized opposing receivers a few years ago. Injuries have really taken a toll on him these past 2 seasons. Since joining Baltimore earlier this year, he's only suited up twice, and the numbers aren't exactly pretty. 5 catches allowed on 5 targets for over 100 yards, and a passer rating north of 118 when thrown his way. That's not what you want from a guy who once locked down half the field by himself. But the thing is, talent like that doesn't just vanish overnight. When Alexander has been healthy, his tape still flashes the instincts and quickness that made him elite in the first place. He might not be the same dominant force, but he still has enough juice to compete for a starting job and maybe even resurrect his career in a new environment. And here's something interesting. He's actually younger now than Darius Slay was when he played his first game in Midnight Green. That puts things in perspective. Alexander also has a strong connection with Eagles defensive backs coach Christian Parker, who worked with him in the past and apparently has maintained a great relationship with him. That familiarity could be a huge advantage as he tries to find his footing again. The real question mark, of course, is that knee. That's the cloud hanging over this entire deal. If Alexander can stay on the field, this could turn out to be a genius move by Howie Roseman. But if not, at least the cost was minimal. 6th-round picks don't often turn into game changers. And when you have a shot at a proven veteran who could still have gas left in the tank, you take that chance. It's the kind of gamble that championship teams make. And honestly, it sends a message to the rest of the locker room. This front office believes in this roster. They're not waiting around hoping things fix themselves. They're being proactive. It also adds competition, which is exactly what the secondary needs right now. Guys like Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, and Jacorian Bennett have to feel a mix of relief and motivation. Relief because the Eagles didn't go out and land a superstar who would automatically take a starting job, but motivation because the depth chart is still very much open for the taking. Ringo, in particular, was starting to show some real flashes before the bye week, and this move doesn't close the door on his development at all. If anything, it might push him to step up even more, which can only be good for the defense as a whole. The other big storyline here is that the Eagles aren't done. Even after the Alexander trade, rumors started swirling that Howie Roseman still had his eyes on another position, edge rusher. It's been the hot topic in Philly for weeks now. Fans and insiders alike have been wondering whether the team would pull the trigger on adding another pass rusher to help boost that front seven. And as it turns out, they did. But before we get to that, it's worth noting how wild some of the speculation got leading up to the deadline. There were whispers that the Eagles might go after Myles Garrett, that they'd be willing to trade 3 first-round picks for him, which, let's be honest, sounded insane from the start. The Browns made it clear Garrett wasn't going anywhere, and the same story played out with other big names like Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals got calls, including from Philly, but they weren't in the mood to move one of their key defensive pieces. That's when the focus started shifting toward more realistic targets, like Jalen Phillips from the Miami Dolphins. The rumor mill went into overdrive, with multiple reports saying the Eagles were actively calling about him. Phillips isn't just any pass rusher. He's young, explosive, and he already knows Vic Fangio's system from their time together in Miami back in 2023. That kind of familiarity is huge because it means he could plug into the defense almost immediately without a long adjustment period. And sure enough, on Monday morning, it became official. Miami agreed to send Jalen Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a third-round pick in 2026. Just like that, the Eagles added another weapon to an already dangerous defensive line. It's hard not to like this deal. Phillips brings energy, athleticism, and proven production. He's had seasons with 7 or 8 sacks, and is one of those players who can disrupt a play even when he doesn't record a sack because of how often he pressures the quarterback. This year alone, he's already piled up more than 30 quarterback pressures, which ranks him among the top dozen edge rushers in the entire league. That's exactly the kind of help the Eagles' defense needed. With so much talent already on that front, guys like Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, and veteran Brandon Graham, adding Phillips just gives Fangio even more tools to work with. The defensive line that once had some question marks suddenly looks stacked again. The move also comes with a bit of nostalgia. The last time the Eagles made a mid-season trade with the Dolphins, it worked out pretty well. They went on to win the Super Bowl back in 2017 after bringing in Jay Ajayi. Of course, nobody's expecting history to repeat itself exactly, but it's hard not to feel that little spark of déjà vu. Still, as exciting as this trade is, it's not without risk. Phillips does have an injury history that can't be ignored. He's battled both an Achilles tear and a partially torn ACL in recent years. That's 2 major injuries for a player whose game relies on burst and explosiveness. And with his contract set to expire after this season, there's a chance this could be just a short-term rental. But again, when you're a team in full championship mode, sometimes you have to take those swings. If this move helps the Eagles make another deep playoff run, or even hoist the Lombardi again, nobody will care about the draft pick. The timing of this trade also makes sense considering what's been happening with the roster. The Eagles just placed both safety Marcus Epps and edge rusher Azeez Ojulari on injured reserve, leaving some holes in that rotation. Bringing in Phillips helps stabilize things immediately and gives Fangio a player he already trusts. It's the kind of move that keeps the defense balanced and ready for the grind of the second half of the season. Meanwhile, the Packers, who the Eagles face next, got some terrible news of their own. Tight end Tucker Kraft went down with what appears to be a torn ACL, a devastating blow for a player who was having a breakout year. He ranked among the top tight ends in both yards and touchdowns, and losing him will absolutely change how Green Bay's offense operates on Monday night. So here we are, 2 massive trades, a few tough injury updates, and an NFC race that's heating up by the minute. The Eagles are sitting at the top, but Howie Roseman isn't letting them get comfortable. Every move screams urgency, confidence, and a belief that this team is built to win now. Whether it's Jaire Alexander getting a second chance to prove he still belongs among the league's best, or Jalen Phillips reuniting with a coach who knows exactly how to use him, the Eagles are loading up for something special. The next few weeks are going to tell us a lot about just how high this team can fly. Now that the trades are official and the dust has started to settle, the big question on everyone's mind is how these moves actually reshape the Eagles' defense heading into the stretch run. You can already feel a shift in energy around the locker room. Players are fired up, coaches are smiling, and the message is loud and clear. This team is not waiting for the postseason to get better. They're building momentum right now. Vic Fangio must be thrilled because both of these acquisitions, Jaire Alexander and Jalen Phillips, fit his system like a glove. He loves smart, physical defenders who can adapt quickly, and both guys have the kind of background that makes that possible. It's one thing to talk about adding talent. It's another to bring in players who already understand the philosophy and language of your scheme. That's what makes these trades so intriguing. Let's start with Alexander. Even though his recent seasons haven't gone the way he wanted, there's no denying the natural talent. His footwork, anticipation, and ability to read routes were elite when he was healthy. Fangio's system might actually help him find that old form again. Unlike some defensive schemes that rely on corners playing on an island every snap, Fangio often uses his defensive backs in zone-heavy looks where intelligence and communication matter more than pure speed. That could play to Alexander's strengths. He's always been a technician, a guy who wins with positioning and timing rather than raw athleticism alone. So even if he's lost half a step because of those knee issues, he's still capable of being a difference maker in this setup. There's also the motivational factor. For a player like Alexander, who's had to listen to critics question his durability and worth, this trade is a reset button. Philly has a history of giving veterans a chance to prove themselves again. Think of how many players have come here, rejuvenated their careers, and become fan favorites. It's that blue-collar, never-quit mentality that defines the city. If Alexander can stay healthy for even half the season and give the defense stability on the outside, it's already a win. And if he somehow gets back to anything close to his Pro Bowl level, it could be one of the best bargain trades in recent memory. Then there's Jalen Phillips, who might just be the more impactful addition in the short term. The numbers speak for themselves. He's been one of the most disruptive young edge rushers in football when healthy. What makes him such an exciting fit is how Fangio can move him around the line. Phillips isn't just a hand-in-the-dirt pass rusher. He can drop back in coverage, set the edge against the run, and blitz from different angles. That versatility is gold in Fangio's playbook. He's the kind of player who forces offenses to account for him on every snap because they never quite know where he's coming from. And when you combine him with the rest of that defensive front, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, you start realizing just how deep this rotation can get. It's a nightmare for opposing offensive lines. Of course, with all that excitement, the reality of injuries still looms large. Phillips' health has to hold up if the Eagles want this trade to pay off. The good news is that the team's training staff has an excellent track record managing player recovery, and Philly's rotation depth means Phillips doesn't have to play 70 snaps a game. He can be used strategically, keeping him fresh for key situations late in games or in the playoffs. That's a luxury not every contender has. Plus, playing alongside so many experienced veterans will only help him refine his game and learn the nuances of Fangio's defense even faster. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Philadelphia is in shock tonight as whispers from inside the team's camp have sent fans into a state of disbelief and despair. Sources, speaking under the condition of anonymity, suggest that the Eagles may be on the verge of losing one of their most iconic players this season, a potential blow that could shake the very foundation of the franchise. The news has not been officially confirmed, but the buzz circulating on social media and among insiders is enough to leave the city reeling. Scenes outside Lincoln Financial Field earlier today captured fans clutching their jerseys, some openly crying, as speculation ran wild. Longtime supporters described the atmosphere as eerie, a mixture of anxiety, disbelief, and nostalgia, as if the very soul of the team were being threatened. It feels like losing a family member, one tearful fan admitted. This is not just a player. This is our heart on the field. While the team has remained tight-lipped, sources hint that contract negotiations may have collapsed or that a key injury has taken a turn for the worse. Either scenario would spell disaster for a squad already fighting to solidify its standing in the league. The rumor mill is ablaze with names, numbers, and potential trades, but no official statements have been made, heightening the suspense and fueling every imaginable theory. Analysts are cautiously weighing the impact. Some warn that the Eagles' strategy could be forced to shift dramatically, with a ripple effect across the coaching staff and roster. Others speculate that this could be the opening of a high-stakes drama that will dominate headlines well into the playoffs. Regardless, one thing is clear. The city of Philadelphia is bracing itself for a blow that could redefine the season. For fans, The emotional toll is already palpable. Social media feeds are flooded with messages of support, memories, and desperate hope that the whispers prove unfounded. Yet as the sun sets over the city, the Eagles' faithful hold onto their helmets and scarves with a quiet dread, knowing that, win or lose, this could be a turning point they will never forget. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.